Hey guys, Ariel over here at Nyth. We're in a really gorgeous fall day today, and I'm trying to make good use of it because I think we're supposed to get snow the next 4 days. It's actually been a really unusually long and warm fall for this area. We're basically at the end of October now, and still don't have snow on the ground here. And last year I had snow on the ground in my yard in September sometime. I had like 8 inches one of the first few days of October. So it's been a very long and pleasant fall. It's, I think, got up to 50, high 50s, maybe even almost 60 today. So it's been really beautiful. And I've been trying to get this project finished. If you watched the last bunch of videos, you know I started on my new garden project before heading east for the conference and to see family. And I wanted to get at least all the beds put in place before the ground froze so I could get everything leveled and the blocks laid pretty flat. They follow the contour of the land, but at least evenly. And because once the ground freezes, that would get pretty hard to do. So I did get that all done. I'll have to give you an overview photo, but kind of have a garden maze here. So my garden's not perfectly square, but it's more square shaped now. And like I discussed in the last video on this, it's going to be up here where it is a little more sunny, especially at this time of year. You can tell that area, well, it's still filtered through the treetops, but that area has a lot more sun than this spot. And the garden was just down here in the first place because that's the only place there was dirt. Up here was all rock. But since I'm putting dirt in and moving the dirt anyway, I might as well put it where I want it. So now what I'm doing is that I've got all of my beds laid, and you can probably still see sticking out here the hardware cloth that is the base of the bed. That's a galvanized hardware cloth. I don't know how many years it'll last under there, but probably longer than I'm able to live in this spot anyway. And then the blocks are on top of that. Then what I've done is I've laid down a layer of cardboard. Get a good bit of cardboard here because a lot of things, it seems like everyone has cardboard, but especially if you live in an area where there's not a lot of stores, so you get a lot of things shipped to you, you get a lot of cardboard boxes. And I compost most of them usually. In this case, I just laid down a whole big flat layer as my first layer on top of the hardwood cloth because they'll break down, and I'm thinking, we'll find out how it works next summer, but they should help some with retaining moisture. Now, several people asked me about where I'm getting dirt from to fill this up. Am I buying dirt? Where's that coming from? So here's my thought process on that. I have really good dirt over here in my current garden. I just don't have very much of it because even though it's on the ground, I only have about that much dirt before you get down to solid rock again. Like if you saw way back when I made the garden years ago, you know, rocks, everything like up to this size in there. So I have some of that, but I'd need actually 8 inches of dirt to fill all these beds. I have about the same square footage of beds as I did before, just in a different configuration. But I would only have half enough dirt to fill it up at best because I only had that much dirt in my current bed. So I went to fill something else underneath, and I didn't want to and don't have the finances to just go buy a bunch of potting soil, and that's not what I prefer to use anyway. So what I'm doing is putting stuff in the bottom that's going to break down. So my first layer is cardboard that I've put down. Then I did a layer of old hay, not the same hay that I had accidentally poisoned the garden with, if you saw that video from a little while back. And this is hay that's been rotting now for like 3 years, so I've got a layer of, still see it over here in this one, just a thin layer of like an inch or so of old hay on top of the cardboard. I'm hoping that acts a little bit like a sponge. If you watch his videos, a little bit like M.I. Gardner talks about, he uses full bales under his beds to act as a water retaining sponge. With my setup and the hardware cloth, that doesn't work very well, but I've got some hay in there. Then I'm putting some old wood chips. Wood chips going in there have been decomposing already for about 7 years, 6-7 years. So they have a good start to breaking down already. And then I'm filling up the rest with dirt. You can see up here at the corner of this bed where I've started with the dirt. And that dirt is just coming out of my current garden beds, going in that wheelbarrow. And I'm kind of going through it all by hand because I still have a lot of little pebbles and, you know, stuff in this size range in there. And so as I'm filling the beds, I'm kind of just going through it all by hand and sorting those out. since this is the last beautiful day I think we're probably going to have before everything is really frozen up. I'm not sure that I will get this completely done this fall. Up here, I did get this one bed where you can kind of see the cattle panels laid on top of it, done enough that I could plant my garlic in it for the fall. So that end of that bed is done. I was able to plant my garlic. We'll see by spring, I guess, how well this bed system works out. If the gophers were able to get in there, since last year they ate 100% of my garlic and they'd eaten most of it the year before. So that should be a good test if these beds keep them out. And I put the extra panels that I'd used as trellises this summer, just laid them on top of there, just in case they tunnel up through the snow. If I don't know what kind of snow year we're going to have, but we often have a snow pack, you know, a solid pack up to here or higher. And animals like mice and stuff do tunnel through the snow itself, not just down on the ground in the winter. And so I wanted to prevent, if the snow piled up, I don't think, I've never seen a gopher tunnel come up into the snowpack as best I know, but just in case they did, I wanted to have something blocking them from getting into the top of the bed, since they shouldn't be able to get in the side or come up from the bottom. So that's my thinking there. We'll find out how that works. So at least I've got hay done, cardboard done, and hay done in all the beds. I've got wood chips done in most of them. I want to finish that up, and then we'll see how much more dirt I can get moved before it freezes solid. So that's what I'm up to. Now the idea here is, of course, that not only does this give me enough volume to fill up the bed, since I didn't have 8 inches of good dirt to put in here, but all these things will eventually become dirt themselves as they continue to break down. The bits of round trees here and the grasses and all of that is going to continue to become more rich and nutritious soil for producing my food. So it should be a win-win. You could use a lot of different materials. If you look up, this is kind of a combination of ideas from, like I said, some things M.I. Gardner says, some of the hugelkultur type beds, not really back to Eden because I'm not planning to plant in the wood chips, but they use wood chips as well. Anyway, it's just a combination of things. You could use a lot of different materials, of course, if you were doing something similar. Cardboard, rotten hay, and wood chips just happen to be the items I have available easily and for free to use in my bed. So that one's all good to go, except for putting the inches of dirt on top. I don't know if the camera shows all these big holes in the dirt. That is from where, when the deer walked through here, when they got in while I was out of town, everywhere they stepped on a gopher tunnel, they of course collapsed the ground in. So every one of those punctures is where a critter stepped on top of what should have been the ground surface and sunk into a gopher hole. Just to give you an idea of how many tunnels they had through my garden. I want to mention I'm picking out the little stones as I go. I'm just using them to fill up the little holes in the blocks, to help weight them down and stabilize them there along the bottom. I could pile that wheelbarrow clear full, but dirt's heavy, so it's just easier to take a partial load at a time. I can already tell I'm really going to like this garden setup because it's so handy to just have this nice ledge to sit on and be able to work as I do whatever in the future. Right at the moment, make the beds. So I'm just, like I said, going through here by hand and picking out just the little pebbles and sometimes not little pebbles, like all of those guys, and weighting down the blocks on the edge. If you're wondering where this dirt came from originally that was in my garden, it was pretty much the soil that was here between the big rocks that had pulled out when I started. And then every year I've always added some kind of compostable material, my own veggie, kitchen scrap compost. Sometimes I've had access to some leaves and stuff from a neighbor. There's one or two little aspen trees here, but I hardly get any leaves. There's not a whole lot anywhere in this area, but some people have a lot more aspen trees than I do, so they get leaves. Mine are mostly pine, so I don't get leaves. Some years I've had some more wood chips or actual sawdust, like from when I clean up a pile when I'm done. See, I've still got some pretty big rocks in there too. When I clean up, after doing my firewood, that kind of thing. Hay. I got a truckload of horse manure from somebody that was getting rid of it. So anyway, every year I've added something or another to the soil because your soil is, of course, one of the most important things in your garden. And every time you take things out of it, like lettuce leaves and eat them, or carrots and munch on those, or broccoli and cauliflower and potatoes and onions, whatever, you're taking those plants used up nutrients that were in the soil and put them into something that's more palatable for you to eat than this. And so if you don't feed your soil, it will eventually become completely depleted and not have enough nutrients in there to be able to sustain healthy plants and feed you anymore. So, good soil health is important, for sure. Probably the single most important thing. And as you can see, it's a little harder to tell over a camera, I think, than in person. Found a little weed trying to grow. In the 4 years I have been gardening here, for starting out with mostly boulders, this has turned into a really beautiful, loose, friable is the word used for soil texture like that is just absolutely rich and nutritious. And all of my other things, like I said, that I'm putting down under here should break down and add to that soil over time. So, just kind of leveling off my bed here as I go, and I think I got it mostly pebble-proof, pebble-free. And keep filling this bed up as I climb it down. I've learned already, since I'm kind of going through it all, that it works easiest to dump my next pile kind of ahead of me, and then as I sort through it and pull out stones, I can kind of rake it backwards to where it needs to be, and then I can tell which part I've already gone through and which part I have not. So it's not anything too complicated, especially in a beautiful afternoon like this. It is quite a pleasant chore. Something that just feels so nice about dirt. I even like it on my bare hands, but I've been working it so much it's been making my hands really chapped and cracked, so I'm wearing gloves. But it just takes a little time. So I don't know, in fact I would be very surprised if I get all of these filled with dirt before the ground freezes. But I'll get whatever I can done this fall, and the rest I will finish in the spring when it melts out again. There's another big one. That'll give you some crooked carrots if you grow them in that. Just an interesting note, when there's something like this little kale leaf that's still green, where this came from, because my kale has been gone for a while now, I eat most of it and the deer finished it off. This is one a gopher yanked down under the ground and had hidden in their tunnel that they were planning to spend the winter munching on. So I am definitely interfering with their plans, which is fine with me. They can go back to their natural diet of the wild roots and stuff and leave my veggies alone. So this will quickly get boring if I make you watch the next 150 hours of me playing around the dirt with my hands. But if you have ever used some kind of materials to add compost to your soil or to fill up a garden bed and whatever, comment that down below just in case somebody else is looking here and they need some ideas. If they're not in an area where it's easy to get hay or easy to get wood chips, what are some other good materials that would break down into good soil? If you've got ideas or things you've used in the past, list them down below so we got a good resource for everyone here, no matter where they are, that they would have inexpensive or even better yet free materials that they could build really good soil out of so that they can build really good plants, so you can build really good bodies. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.